Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ML podcast. Today, we're honored to welcome Shawn Howarth from Excellon Resources. Shawn, first of all, thank you for joining us today.
Ali, thank you for having me. I appreciate to be here.
It was a real pleasure to meet you at the Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, and we really appreciated the conversation and look forward to seeing you again soon, both in Beaver Creek and also in Stockholm, where you'll meet a couple hundred of our guys as well.
I look forward to meeting my Swedish investors in Excellon. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So what makes Excellon Resources especially interesting to us is that it combines three things that we think matter a lot in this market. So firstly, a clear path to production, a great located asset, and a management that we trust. So today I'd like to structure the conversation into two parts. So firstly, a bit about your background and leadership. Secondly, the main part of the discussion, Excellon Resources itself, the asset base, the production path, and the key milestones ahead. So firstly, what experiences brought you to the CEO role at Excellon, and why should investors trust you and your team to create shareholder value?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ali. So my background in education is that I was an undergrad in engineering to start in Canada, moved into corporate finance and specifically investment banking within the mining and metals space and worked at a number of companies through that, transitioning over into the mining side about maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So I have a lot of experience in the mining space that's rooted with the finance and with an engineering eye with numbers, cuteness to numbers that matter when we're looking at these types of projects. And I think where it's special is that the Excellon team, led with myself, but also including my Chief Operating Officer, Dan Hall, and our Chief Operating Officer, Paul Keller, and my Chief Financial Officer, Dan Hall. This team is incredibly resilient. We transitioned. We worked in a production environment with a former past producing silver mine called Platosa in Mexico. That was Excellon's flagship asset through the mid 2000s all the way up into 2022, 2023. I joined as the CEO in 2022 of Excellon. And from there, we transitioned. We had to shut down that mine, unfortunately, run out of resources. And we transitioned the company over. What we tried to keep was this kind of like this perspective of operations and the experience of operations with the team that we had. And we'll lead into kind of the next couple of questions that we have. Where we can apply that best is looking at opportunities like Mallay, like Peru, where we can take an operational focus and instill best examples of best practices. So I think what's special, what stands out for us is this ability of resiliency. When you're restarting a mine, nothing is always easy. You're always going to have problems, but being able to work through them, having a team that can work together, that's cohesive, and has experiences in this type of environment before is critical. And that's definitely what myself and the team that we bring together and bring to Excellon.
Yeah, thank you very much for that background and overview. But for investors hearing about Excellon for the first time, what is the Excellon Resources investment thesis?
Yeah, so Excellon today is very different. It's very exciting. In 2025, we acquired the past producing Mallay silver mine in Peru, in central Peru. Mallay historically produced from around 2012 to 2018. It was constructed by a company that's operated in Peru, spent about 130 million US on the infrastructure. That's the mine access roads, that's the underground development, and that's a fully functioning 600 ton per day processing plant. And when we acquired the assets, we acquired all that infrastructure and have been looking at ways to basically restart the mine and continue to develop it and fulfill what we think is a significant upside from historically what was considered a smaller and narrow underground mine. So we're now in the process of transitioning towards, I'd say, full restart. We announced today, exciting news is that we announced that we started producing first concentrate production at the mill. So we are recovering silver, we're recovering lead and zinc. That's all part of the metallurgy. And the next 6 months, over the course of 2026, we're going to continue to complete the development and the ramp up of mine production that's going to take this thing, into 2027 and beyond, towards the rated capacity of 600 tons per day.
Thank you very much for that overview, Shawn. And what are the most important milestones that investors should watch for over the next 6 to 18 months? And also, could you elaborate on today's fantastic news?
Sure. Okay, so with today's news, what we've demonstrated is that the surface infrastructure, that's the processing plant, that's the treatment, the filtration of the filter plants of the concentrate, all that infrastructure is working. And so we've significantly de-risked, I'd say, the surface infrastructure by demonstrating the mining of the ore that we're mining today can be processed with the work that we've done to upgrade the process plant. So that's been completed. It's only early days. We just started the process plant in July, but we ran it around 2/3 capacity for the month, and 2/3 was as designed. We didn't want to run it at full capacity. We're still out there doing metallurgical tweaks, recovery tweaks, and that will continue over the months to come. And what investors can expect over the next, I'd say, 4 to 6 months, this is that ramp up period, is continued development in our underground. And when I talk about development, I mean getting the mine ready to be able to harvest production, at expanded rates. We're going to continue to grow our underground mine production. So taking ore from the underground and stockpiling it at surface, that we can then process that material through the process plants. And investors should be able to expect a lot of interesting or exciting news around exploration and drilling that we're doing in and around the mine itself. So when we acquired this mine, the resource that we put out there, it's around 16 million ounces silver equivalent. That's indicated and inferred resources. That was based on all the historic drilling and the channel sampling, the mine sampling that was completed to date. Our vision for this is actually something that's much bigger, where our focusing on is getting deeper in the mine. So a lot of the drilling we're doing is the infill drilling below the 4090 level, which is kind of the lowest level of the mine. That's what we reopened when we access the underground. And so a lot of the work we're doing is number one, demonstrating resource continuity, demonstrating that actually this resource continues to grow beyond the historic mineralized boundaries, and then demonstrating to investors that we can profitably and successfully mine that. All that's going to come over the next 6 months.
Thank you very much for that. And one big upside that I see in Excellon is the Cerros project. Could you tell us a bit about that and the plans going for that one?
Yeah, so Cerros is a standalone project that we acquired along with the Mallay with all the concessions. Cerros is around 6.5 kilometers away from the mine. It's a large surface anomaly. We think it has potential to become a multi-million ounce gold and silver deposit. Right now, it's the surface anomaly. So we've been doing just mapping and target identifications, but we expect into 2027 and beyond, we're going to be doing an extensive amount of drilling of Cerros. And so I think what's exciting is, today and over the next 4 to 6 months, we get the mine running and we demonstrate the mine can generate positive cash flows. And you've got this cash flow engine that can go out and continue to develop and explore and define exciting projects like Cerros. And, in the traditional sense, a traditional exploration company goes and raises money or raises capital in the markets. I think we've got a unique value proposition that we can harvest cash flows from the mine and use that for exploration and demonstrate to our shareholders, tremendous growth potential through the drill bit, which I think is always exciting.
I really believe that you've delivered on your goals that you set up 18 months ago, but no investment is risk-free. So what do you believe are the biggest risks investors should be aware of when evaluating Excellon, but also what kind of de-risking have you been doing for the last year or so?
Yeah, so we have two broad areas, be like your mine risks and obviously your resource or exploration risks. And so in the mine, we have a vision and we want to ramp this mine up to 600 tons per day because that's the rated capacity of the mill. To get there, we need to do more development. We believe that we're getting into wider zones that support mechanized mining. That means more productive tons. But we're still in that process of that ramp up. So over the next 4 to 6 months, we're going to continue to demonstrate that de-risking of the mine through our plans, and we also communicate a little more what does that planning look like into 2027 and beyond, with some updated news releases that are going to come. And then concurrent to that, is obviously, we have a huge exploration upside potential, but we need to demonstrate that potential and translate that into resources. That happens through drilling. And so a big thing is obviously continuing to drill or understand the geology to a point where we can drill successfully. And at Tres Cerros, it's still, we need our drill permit. So that I'd say is also a risk. I don't think it's going to block anything, but it speaks to time, is that we need to be able to go out and complete the drill permitting to be able to go drill that project. Right now, we can do surface mapping, surface exploration, but obviously we want to get deeper and demonstrate what that potential looks like.
Shawn, thank you very much for your conversation and this conversation and your presentation. I think the discussion has given our investors a great introduction of the Excellon Resources story. It was a pleasure meeting you in Frankfurt, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Ali, thanks so much for having me, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them for sure.
Thank you very much, and take care.